6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Guitar Stories Podcast, your number one show for everything guitar.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Guitar Stories Podcast. You know something, Dan? That theme tune has just reinvigorated me. I've forgotten how much I love it. And every time I hear it, I think that's our theme tune. But today, for some reason, it particularly rocked. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's got some solid rock and roll vibes to it. So
Yeah, it really has.
welcome, my friend. Welcome.
Thanks for inviting me. Episode 67. Episode 67, possibly the closest between, for our guest this evening, the shortest period of time in between we've had this guest on the show, then had them back. But this time, back in full, I'm going to say 30 frames per second and beautiful, pristine audio as well.
Yep, loud and clear. So
yeah,
it's good Mr. Jack Gardiner. It's good to have him back, right?
Yeah, he's. If you're watching, by the way, if you're watching, of course you're watching. Otherwise, you wouldn't be receiving this information right now. He's backstage. He's ready. He's queued up. He's in focus. He's excited. He's smiling. Yeah. Dan, episode 67. We're very close to like 70, which is a high number.
Yep.
I'm surprised. You know, we said we were surprised to make it to 7. Do you remember back in those days?
Oh yeah.
And of 70, that's like a lot more than 7.
But seriously, a lot has happened during, that time span when we started, and now it already feels like a lifetime.
So many changes, so many technical issues, so many viewers and listeners, so many guests. Speaking of viewers and listeners, let's say hello to the people in the chat. Hello, Connor. Hello, Valeria. Hello, Sarang. Hello, Troy. Hello, I love it all. Guten Abend aus Deutschland. Melodify. Justin Hombach is in the chat. Justin from last week. Hello, Justin. Fergie in France. Dr. Dan's in the chat. That's you, mate. Hello.
Yep. Yeah.
Ciego guitarist, Studio Camille is there, and then Sirkin Nissan 570, haven't seen you for a while, mate, and Pooh Ninja, who's popping in just for a little bit today because he's got a meeting later on. He informed me earlier, because that's the latest Pooh news.
Sweet. So our viewers are actually like excusing themselves if they have to leave earlier.
Yeah, actually, I got 2 people message me saying I might not be able to make the show tonight, or might only make a little bit. Isn't that awesome? That's really cool.
The geek community is very well behaved.
Them's the rules. Also, if you're listening to the audio version, be careful in your car driving, or be careful, or good morning if you're having your breakfast and listening, or good afternoon if you're lazing on a Sunday afternoon. Yeah.
Just make yourself comfortable, take your sippy cup or a nice bottle of Spezi and enjoy it.
Oh, actually, my cup is matching your T-shirt.
Yeah. I mean, for all...
Although my Batman is facing me, he should be facing you, because it's a bit weird if you're trying to take a drink and Batman's staring at your nose.
Yep. That's a very comfortable...
where did you get this from? I need to know. I need to buy that exact T-shirt.
I think I bought it at Savvy. DE.
Savvy?
Not sponsored.
Okay.
Completely not sponsored. Yeah. So
no, not yet anyway. Not yet.
Yeah. But I watched the movie a second time and I enjoyed it pretty much as during the first time. That was
wow.
It gave me a lot more insight, gave me a lot more time to reflect because I already knew and what was expecting a couple happenings in the movie without spoiling anything. So
yeah, Dan gave away a massive spoiler last week if you didn't watch or listen to last week's episode, and I'm going to give it away again. So spoiler alert: Bruce Wayne is Batman. Yeah, big spoiler.
You said it. Mic drop.
I said it. It's done. It's out there.
Personal
news, Dan. I've got to talk about some personal news. Very positive news. I had a gig on Saturday night, and I feel absolutely reinvigorated. The first gig I've had since I think about July last year, something like that. And the last gig I did was a wedding. You can't really call it a gig because it was a wedding. And it was one of the worst, if not the worst, of my life and destroyed my soul. This one on Saturday was one of the smallest things I've ever played. And it was laughable. The room was slightly bigger than the table that was in there. But I had such a fun time, and I managed to entertain people with 3 chords. We just did rock and roll and stuff. It was me and a drummer, me on acoustic guitar and a small speaker, because you didn't really need a speaker because it was that small, and harmonica and, classic. It was a 60th birthday party. It was for a friend. So I'm, pushing the boundaries of calling it a gig. But what I want to say was a performance in which I played guitar and sang, and I feel so full of life because of this, and I really, really miss gigging. So yeah, if you haven't gigged in a while, go and do one. Go and do anything. Go and get out on the street. Go and play, anything, anywhere. It will reinvigorate your life, I promise you. Or get you arrested, depending on where you play. That's the risk you take. Any news from your side, Dan?
Firstly, news from Fergie, who says that I'm lacking any treble. Is that the same for everyone? Or can you hear me loud and clear?
I can hear you loud and clear. I mean, I honestly, as we said earlier, I can hear a buzzing on your side, but
yeah, that's like I can't do anything about that. But okay.
Did you
play?
T-shirt.
Did you play Wonderwall? Yeah, that's a T-shirt.
Do you know what? I put it in the set list,
all right,
and it was considered, and we didn't play it. It was like, if it all goes wrong, I'll play Wonderwall and try and get the back on side. But as it was this guy's 60th birthday, it was like, okay, let's play 7 Elvis songs, which are all 3-chord, 12-bar bluesy kind of songs. And he danced with every woman at the party, managed to knock over the camera that I was filming with on the tripod, knocked over the drinks, squashed a piece of the cake. It was amazing. And he wasn't even drunk. It was just that small a room that he was trying to dance. It was, we didn't play Wonderwall. Sorry. Apologies to all the Wonderwall fans out there. I'm not ashamed. It's not even a guilty pleasure. I play Wonderwall for anybody.
Yeah. But it's always good to have such a fallback song, the song that you could play at 4 a.m. in the morning if someone woke you up, because that kind of, gives you safety back, even if you bumped a little bit and you had a song that didn't really work. I always like that, to have like a couple in the arsenal.
I won't win any cool points for the songs that we played, but I will win people smiling and being happy points, and that's matters to me much more. Sadly, more news, I guess, is that it was the day that was announced that Taylor Hawkins had died, and the drummer, Hans Peter, was particularly sad, and so was I. Yeah, so he was really, really down, and he might even be watching or listening, but you did a really good job. You smashed those skins hard, and Taylor would have been proud of you. So, yeah, sad news about that. That's an understatement, but there's not really much more I can comment on that hasn't been commented already. So I'm very sad that he's gone.
Great performer. I mean, one of the greatest drummers. And
yeah, truly. I saw him with Alanis Morissette in the late 90s. I saw him with the Foo Fighters many times. And can I share this just with you, Dan, because no one else is listening?
Sure.
I used to have a bit of a thing for Alanis Morissette.
Oh, what?
Yeah, I really did. And I went to see them play live, and I was watching her thinking, yeah, she's crazy. I quite into that. And for some reason, my eyes drifted off her, and I was totally fixated with Taylor Hawkins then. So he got me off my Alanis Morissette sort of fixation.
Oh,
so
wow.
Thanks for that. Saved me, just in case she was ever to meet me, and it's never going to happen there anymore.
Isn't it ironic that both have like long blonde hair?
Sorry, did you mean to do that? You
Yeah.
did. Okay.
Of course.
Sorry. Oh.
Both long blonde hair, right? Both have long blonde hair. Alanis
Morissette.
Was she brunette?
She was super brunette. She had long brown hair, and she was spinning around in circles, and it was going out, and I was going, she is nuts.
Okay.
I love that.
Okay. So you went from brunette to blonde.
And from female to male. It was absolutely fine. Yeah, it was quite a change, but I got accustomed to it quite quickly.
Yeah. And Taylor
Surprisingly.
was a handsome guy.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Speaking of handsome, Jack's still with us. He's still there. Have you got an introduction for our guest this evening, Dan?
Of course. A rather brief one because I foolishly threw away the other one, and sometimes it's kind of hard to kind of rewrite stuff like that. But yeah, of course, let's give it a shot. So tonight's guest is Jack Gardiner, who's a British solo artist and session guitarist based in Switzerland. Jack has been playing the guitar since age 15. Later took lessons from Tom Quayle, who taught him how to play many of the crazy fusiony legato licks that Jack is now known for today. In 2017, he joined Stu Ham for a comprehensive EU tour and also became a member of British pop rock band China Crisis as their new guitarist. And in 2020, Jack released his debut single Sky Blue Pink featuring Owane that was followed by the EP Escapades, with which Guitar World praises as, Andy, now listen carefully, a fusion masterclass with an execution to die for.
Whoa. I think that's what some people said about my show on Saturday, actually. Fusion of crap songs and beer.
And if this wasn't already like icing on the cake, then there's another quote from Tom Quayle, who, when I told him that Jack would be on the show, he said he's probably one of the nicest chaps in the whole industry. And that's, if one of the nicest chaps like Tom Quayle is already saying that, that's like up there, top
That's
level.
Nice to the power of nice. That's exponentially nice. And he's squirming in his seat. Sorry, Jack. Nice to see the British has not left you, even though you're in Switzerland. Okay, well then, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jack Gardiner. Hello, Jack Gardiner.
What's going on, guys? Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me again.
You're welcome. This is technically the third show that you've been on in the space of a couple of months. Actually, you got applauded last week because I mentioned that you'd bought a Wi-Fi extender so you could be on the show and make sure that things were working. So thank you for doing that.
Is that
a true story?
Ninja knew?
Yeah. Okay. He's been on it, has he?
Yeah, because I got a random comment from him the other day, like looking forward to Tuesday with your Wi-Fi extender, and I was thinking, who? Or has he hacked into my, personal messages here? Or...
I'm not saying that he did learn from last week's show, but Pooh is all knowledgeable. He's omnipotent.
Nice.
Sorry. Yeah, thanks very much. Yeah, a pleasure to have you on. A pleasure to hear and see you. Welcome to Guitar Stories 67. You've been bumped up a few numbers. I think it was 62 you were on. So,
well, hopefully we'll get a full one by 70. But no, thank you very much for having me, guys.
Good. For the people in the chat, if you have questions for Jack, or if you want to talk to Jack and give some shout outs, save it for a little bit later, because we're going to do the news or guitar-y news, and we're going to do picks of the week and things like that. But think of questions, if you have them, store them in your question box, and we'll get them on the show in a little bit. And I'm stalling for time because I realized that when I resynced my Google Drive, I didn't get those picks from the Gibson guitar, Dan. So we can't. Let's just do the Gibson news without picks because I haven't got any.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, maybe
don't send them to me via WhatsApp. You know how that stresses me out. In the middle of a show, I'll just send you a meme that I've just created. Yeah, don't do that.
I'm the meme master. I spent my whole weekend doing memes of Will Smith smacking the crap out of Chris Rock.
Yeah, I was hoping we weren't going to bring that up, but there it is. I'm still on the fence.
No. All right. So, what are we talking about? Are you talking about the Gibson Adam Jones Les Paul Standard that got released?
Correct.
Yeah. There's not too much to say about that because that was actually news that just got released a couple minutes before we started the show. But it says that Gibson has now officially released a standard edition of the quickly sold out Les Paul Standard in antique Silverburst. And apart from that, I mean, it reads like all the fancy marketing text that we all know and love. But the actual eye catcher is definitely the video that Gibson put out because they have a couple pretty cool like GoPro-esque close-ups of the actual guitar, which I really liked.
I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen those? Yeah, that's
Nope.
pretty recommended. Yeah, I mean specification wise, it's a Les Paul, so there's not too much differentiation from that. Les Paul mahogany body, maple cap. It's got, what kind of pickups does it have? I don't even know. Does it say here? But here's a special thing. It's got an ebony fretboard, so a little bit of Les Paul custom vibes.
Nice.
Yep. And what also makes it special, it's got the custom Adam Jones artwork on the back of the headstock. So kind of concentric circles. And it's got a Adam Jones engraved truss rod cover to remind you that it's actually a signature guitar.
It's got what on the back? Adam Jones artwork or a signature?
Yeah, I think it's like it's supposed to be some sort of concentric circles. But here in the images, I can't find them. So maybe that's something I was mistaken.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it now, and it definitely doesn't have anything that seems special to me. I'll try and get it on screen. Hang on, there we go. That doesn't look.
No, not the back of the actual body, but of the headstock. But maybe I was mistaken. I don't know.
Well, the headstock's there. Look at the bottom of the screen, Dan.
Wait. Okay. No, but in the video. Wait.
Oh, in the video. Sorry, Jack, you were masked by some guitar then.
If you are 130 in the video, you can clearly see that on the back of the headstock there's some graphics, and that's not mirrored in the actual product images, which is kind of weird.
Oh, wait. Underneath that picture I just showed you, it says Adam Jones Les Paul Standard rear ? Official pics from the site are incorrect as this is a custom. Okay, so the custom they've got the pics on the site of the custom.
Right. That's misleading.
The pickups, by the way, are Burstbucker ones in the neck and a open coil DC high gain humbucker at the bridge position.
Okay.
The custom shop had Seymour Duncans, so that's not the same pickups.
Nope. All right. Well, that's news. I mean, it was a pretty weak week in terms of guitar news. Gotta be,
yeah, Jack, we were talking about that. I think you messaged me and said, quite literally, I don't know what's been released. Nothing.
I think there was the Space Echo and another Gibson. That's all I saw.
Yeah. And I picked it. Do you know? I still haven't got over the Gibson Theodore. It's still in my mind. I've woken up thinking about it.
Seriously?
Seriously. Again?
All right.
I do want to talk about the Theodore. Yes, I do.
All right. Okay, let's talk about Theodore. I got to give props to all the guys in the group that kind of changed the headstock because it looked so much better with a different headstock. If you get rid
Which was your favorite?
Actually, I think the Epiphone kind of, what's that, the Badwing kind of headstock, the Coronet headstock, is that right?
Oh, the one that I made? Okay, then.
Yeah, that looked pretty fitting, The ugly
I think so.
Was
Ryan Burke made one with the, what did he do? He reversed the Banana Explorer hockey stick thing. So he reversed it. That looked cool. That looked really cool. I did the bikini logo one, the Epiphone bikini, which is like from the Wiltshire, and then the Batwing, which I think the Batwing rocks. If they do an Epiphone version, if it costs under $700, I will probably buy one.
Okay.
If it has a thick neck, like a 58 neck, a big chunky neck, I will 100% buy one, and I'll even go up to 1,000 in that case. You have my word on that.
All right. By the way, I know you hate it, but I sent you actually a screenshot of the back of the headstock. So in case you want to show it.
There it is. Yeah. Yeah, I heard the WhatsApp thing ding, and I thought, I know what that is. That looks a bit witchy, pagany.
Yeah, it does. Let's summon some demons.
Okay, well, I guess the next piece of news is that we're talking about Gibson again, and we don't often talk about that particular guitar company because they don't often do things that please us, but they have. We might actually have a Gibson guest on in the show, if you remember, Dan. We're not going to mention who it is.
Yep.
I'm not saying it's not Slash, but we might have a Gibson guest on at some point in the future. They have confirmed they will come on.
Very similar.
Right. Oh, right. Let's move on from Gibson. Let's pretend that the Theodore doesn't exist, and we'll go for, I don't know. Let's say your pick of the week, Dan.
My pick of the week. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Dan's pick of the week.
right. So my pick of the week. I'm cheating a little bit because this is not an official product, but still, it was the thing that kind of got me excited the most throughout the week. And as soon as Andy is sharing an image, I will commence with describing it. And it was actually the confirmation by Wolfgang Van Halen, who said that they are working on a semi-hollow EVH guitar. And there are a couple. There are not too many specs yet to be shared. Starting from price, it's kind of not fixed yet to the actual specs. But there are a couple idiosyncrasies to the guitar that I find very appealing. First of all, it's called the SA126, which stands for semi-acoustic, and 126 is actually the birthday of Eddie Van Halen. He was born January 26th. So I think this is a very nice take, and considering that Eddie wrote a song for Wolfgang called 316, which is his birthday, that's even a pretty nice nod, up to the clouds where Eddie is sitting. Also, the guitar is said to have not an F hole, but they modified it to have an E hole for Eddie.
Ah.
That's cool.
Yeah. So that's the E hole. Yeah, and apart from that, I mean, talking about that's probably a perfect segue because we've been talking about the new shape as a Theodore, and what kind of intrigued me about that guitar is that it's pretty much in the vibe of the solid body EVH kind of style, but it's also quite different, and it brings a new shape to the table, and it kind of looks interesting to play. And given that Wolfgang is touring with it, he has now the ability to kind of road test everything and make sure that it's a nice playing and road worthy guitar. Yeah, and from there, I mean, I'm looking forward to the release of this model because it looks promising, and I've been intrigued to kind of try it out.
I love it.
You love it too? Okay.
I love it. I love that design. I think the body looks quite big, which I love. It looks like a fat jazz master had a baby with a 335.
All right.
I love it. Jack, what do you think?
Yeah, man. I mean, personally, for my taste, the body, I'm not a massive fan of that shape, but it looks cool. I like the white. I like the E hole. That's a really cool homage, I guess, to his dad. Maybe not something that I'd play, but yeah, looks cool.
Are you a semi-hollow guy, like occasionally?
Do you know what? I've never actually played one. I don't think. I've always wanted to have like a jazz box. I guess I've never had the opportunity to play a gig in that style. So it's always been one of those. It's on the bucket list, but I still haven't got around to playing one yet.
That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
I was just wondering, like, if I hi, I'm back again. If I were to pass untimely, and I was, particularly good on guitar, I wonder if someone would make a guitar with an A-hole in it for me.
I knew that was coming.
Sorry. It was spinning round. I had to get it out, and I feel particularly stupid this week, so it's there.
Oh, wow.
Jack, do you know that we do buy, borrow, or burn? Did we get to that part of the show last time where we buy something and we borrow?
Just as
Is that where it crapped out?
Yeah.
Right.
I watched it, but yeah.
Didn't want to play the game. Well, Dan said to me that he's convinced he's going to win this week. So, there's that. So we've got to try particularly hard with our pitches tonight. But I'm actually okay with Dan winning. With that being said, Jack, would you like to go next, or would you like to, finish off strong?
Yeah, I'm going to say the Boss Space Echo. It's a classic, isn't it? I'm not sure. Like, there's two versions that have been released. Yeah, the compact version and the bigger one. I've actually never played a real one, but in the Boss units, I used to use, it was my main board for a lot of the China Crisis stuff, because they originally, when they recorded, it was all, Roland JC 120s. And I think Eddie, the other guitarist, was a Roland artist or Boss artist back in the day. So when I was like recreating tones, this was something that I'd use quite often. And it sounds amazing. It's reverb and delay, I think, isn't it? The Space Echo. Yeah. So I'm intrigued.
Yeah, it's got a preamp. Some people use the preamp in it to get some nice little, those tiny little nuances that we tend to love and obsess over.
Nice.
But yeah, there's two different versions. There's the RE2 and there's the RE202. So the 202 is more akin to the RE20 that did come out and has more options, and the RE2 is a Boss Compact. I was fairly excited by the RE2, but when they announced the RE202, that's where it's at. But it is quite pricey. I think it's $399, the RE202. So it's
Okay.
serious pedal money territory there. But I said this last year, that 2022 seems to be the year of the delay, and it seems to be that's the way. We've got the Line 6, the DL4 reissue Mark II. It seems to be a lot of delay this year. I've done a few delay pedal demos this year, and I'm running out of delay riffs, if I'm honest. I might just, go with the squirmy noises. But there is another channel that covers all that stuff. Yeah, I think it's great that the RE. I actually played an RE. What's it called? The original Space Echo, 201, 301. Oh, blanking at a TGU 18 with Matt Knight from Boss, and he compared it with some other stuff. It was great fun. But the actual tape winding was a pain in the neck. So this thing seems to be right. Also, the RE20 is quite prone to breaking down. So I think they fixed some of those issues with the RE202. I hope. But yeah,
just to see the RE201 being shrink down to such a compact size is kind of pretty intriguing as a for gigging musician. Yeah.
I use the IK Multimedia plugin quite a lot. That's really, really good.
Okay.
There's some good stuff on that. I'm not sure if it's part of Amplitude, but it's one of the IK stuff. Okay, that was a strong pick, Mr. Gardiner. I think that's going to be popular. I'm going to go with another guitar, I think. Oh, I pressed the wrong button.
Andy's pick of the week.
That was just to lull you into a sense of false security so that I can, really power home a good selection now. Okay, I have picked a Fender guitar from one of the JV series. There are 4 on screen at the moment. There are 2 Strats and 2 Tellys. The one that I have chosen is the Strat with the humbucker at the bridge, and this is the Fender JV Modified series. So they've reissued stuff from the 1980s, and the reason I've chosen this is because of the neck specs. So we've got a basswood body, but it's a soft V profile with a 9.5-inch radius, which is absolutely my bag. I think that's going to feel amazing. So that's I didn't really look at much of the rest of the guitar, if I'm honest, apart from the price, which is about 1,200 euros. I just think with that neck, any guitar that has that neck profile excites me. And also it's really vintage looking, but it's got a humbucker at the bridge, which sounds like fun. And it's, I don't know, I think the colors are pretty. So this one is two-tone sunburst with a white scratch plate. There's a white one with a white scratch plate. There's a gold telly with a white scratch plate, and a white telly with a gold scratch plate, which normally I would be all over that telly with the rosewood neck, but I had to go for the Strat because it really excited me.
I was surprised to see you pick not the Fire Mist Gold telly and instead go for the Strat. For the Strat, yeah.
Hang on, let me just check the specs of the telly because it was the Strat that spoke to me. Hang on.
It also has the soft V. All of these have the soft V at a 9.5-inch radius. So I was very surprised.
I think it's because I still haven't found my perfect Strat.
Okay.
I found my perfect telly. It's this one. It's here. It's a custom shop telly. It's 52. It's got also a soft V 1056 neck. I don't think I'll ever beat that as a Telecaster. I still haven't found my favorite, my number one Strat, even though I have a custom shop Strat that is close to the telly. That's what I'm thinking, Dan. I think that's why I've gone for this Strat. So
interesting.
I'm trying to understand myself here. I think that's my thinking. So I mean, if I'm going to win this week, I'm probably going to have to cry or something like that, or tell a
That's a
sad
good-
story.
That's a strong pick. That's a very strong pick. I like that it's got the hot vintage Alnico humbucker in the bridge position because it's much more versatile with the HSS configuration. Also, I mean, the made in Japan stuff is always pretty amazing. So they are Fujigen made, and I mean the price tag at $1350 is absolutely fair for what you're getting. So, you know, I think it's a good package. You know, if you're in the market for a guitar with that kind of vintagey radius and the soft V, that's probably worth considering.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I agree. I
HSS
think we can
as
all
well.
agree. Sorry.
No, HSS, I was just going to say, that's my bag all over 100% in a Strat. Versatility, you know.
Yeah. I wonder if you can split that humbucker. That would be even more interesting. I doubt it's there as stock. I don't think it's there as stock, but you never know when you open these things up. But yeah, I'd be super interested in that. It's yeah, I dig it so hard. Oh, it's $13.49. I beg your pardon, Dan. Yeah, I said $1,200. It's a little bit more expensive than I expected. Another $150, but I'd still get the Epiphone, that doesn't exist. I'm killing my own pick here.
What? You had such a strong pick, and now you're kind of undermining your own pick
God!
by fantasizing it. You know,
I can't help it.
you're a
I'm
real geek.
I'm too
Other men
honest.
fantasize about other women. You fantasize about other guitars. What's wrong with you?
Sorry. Well, it's the way it is. Let's go to our chat and see what the chat is saying about our picks. Sarang is saying it's the first ever proper run with Fujigen that Fender have done, right? That's a question. They only briefly did something with Fujigen in the 1990s. I'm not sure, but I had a 90s Jazzmaster, which I actually returned to the shop because I couldn't understand the bridge because I was young and stupid, or young and uneducated and without the internet back then. And I really, really regret taking that back. That was a mistake. But yeah, that was a great guitar apart from the bridge, which I later realized you need to shim the neck and file the thing and do the thing with the thing, and then you've got a guitar. Studio Humil, they're going to do some picks. There, how can I bring up the chat? There we go. Right. Studio Humil would do all that stuff. Okay, let's play the little jingle because I've managed to fix the jingles, and we'll find out who's going to get bought, who's going to get borrowed, and who's going to get burned.
I borrow or burn.
Right. Fergie in France is going to buy the Space Echo. Get in there, Jack. Borrow the white Strat and sadly burn the EVH. I love EVH. Got a Wolfgang, but this is just marketing. That's a strong take. Ooh, how do we feel about that, gents? That's a strong take. I don't think I agree with that.
I don't know. They're not marketing it yet. He's just playing it on tour. So
I see his point, but I like the guitar. But I'm happy that you didn't win, so I'm torn. Valeria would buy the Space Echo, 2 for Jack, borrow the EVH out of curiosity, and burn more Fenders. What? What is going on, Valeria? Okay. Studio Camille has a 94 Fuji Strat. It's very good. Cool. Troy Collins would buy the semi-hollow, borrow the Strat, sunbake the Echo. Okay. That'll do. That'll do. We got one for Dan, 2 for Jack, 0 for me so far. Where's some more? Come on, people, throw me some stuff in the chat. JV. No, JV is not Jimmy Vaughan. It's Japanese vintage. For the person who asked that question. Sarang, did I put that on the screen already? No. Buy the Boss RE202 because hell yeah. Borrow the E-Holocaster because hell yeah. ×2. Burn the JV Strat because A, doesn't have interesting colors, and B, don't like soft V. Right, Sarang.
Burned.
I am seriously losing this week. Can I change my pick back to the Gibson from last week? If I'm gonna get burned, I want to get burned with full intention. Christopher Lewis, let's do a couple more. Would buy the Boss, borrow the Strat, burn the EVH. Oh, that's not a nice thing to say about Eddie. But Eddie was... I'm not going to say that. Some nice things not said about Eddie, but I don't know. I never met him. Christopher Lewis obviously has met him. Seagull Guitar, buy the Strat, borrow the EVH, burn the Space Echo. Yes! The only comment that counts so far. Oh goodness, I don't even know why I want to win. It's not even. I don't get anything.
Yeah.
Valeria says I'll also lose with the Theodore. Justin Hornback, hello Justin, has said I finally need to buy a pedal, so I would choose Jack's.
Oh, very nice.
That's lovely.
I think we have a winner, Andy. I think we have a winner.
Well, I could just be cherry picking these comments, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm just
browsing through those.
Okay, you're checking me, are you? Craner would buy the RE202, borrow the EVH, burn the Strat because the natural telly is nicer. Do you know what? I'm happy to lose to you, Jack. If I'm honest, it's not even losing. It's just
beginner's luck.
Okay, then I'm going to pick for Dan. I think Dan would buy the EVH. No. I think Dan would also buy the Boss, borrow the EVH, and burn the Fender. Daniel? Doctor?
Nope. I would burn the Boss because I've got already my perfect delay pedal. And
which
my
is?
pedal board is the Strymon Timeline.
Oh, get you and your money.
Also the Electro Harmonics memory mans, they are amazing too, but they're very kind of easy to break on when you're gigging. So yeah, that's a tough one actually. I'm very kind of, I like the Japanese stuff they put out, so I'm actually intrigued to try the Fender and buy the EVH because I only have like one semi-hollow guitar, and I'm really digging the looks, especially because, like the Theodore, is so much different to conventional shapes, and it's got its own take, and it's got a cool retro vibe with the kind of all the dings and dongs, that kind of relic finish. So yeah, I'd say I borrowed Strat just to give it a shot against maybe an AZ, and buy the EVH. There you have it.
Okay. How are we doing this? Jack, do you want to guess for me? And then Dan guesses for Jack? Yeah. I always get this wrong. I can never figure out who guesses for whom. And I've already guessed. I know that. Right, I'm going to take myself out of the equation. You two sort the rest out.
So I guess for you, do I, Andy?
Yeah.
Right. I think you would buy the Strat, I'm going to say. I think you'd borrow the EVH and burn the Boss. I could be totally wrong. I'm just winging it.
And you're making the funniest of faces.
Because I've just realised how difficult it was. I was so fixated on winning that I thought I forgot to have to burn something. I've just realised that I would... No. Oh God. All right. The two things that I'm confused about is the Boss and the Fender. The EVH is definitely being borrowed.
Oh.
Okay.
I think. I think you're right. Did you? I forgot what you said. Did you say buy the Fender?
No, I said, was it buy the EVH?
Oh, no, I'm borrowing the EVH because I want to try it. Sorry, Jack. Hang on. I'm gonna. Oh, this is tough, isn't it? How do the people in the chat do this so quickly? No wonder I end up complaining and people. Yeah. Okay. I'm buying the Strat. I'm borrowing the EVH, and I'm burning Jack's Boss. I'm very sorry to everybody involved. Oh, but only because it's the game. That isn't actually what I'd do, of course. But hang on, let me just fix it. If that isn't the Strat of my dreams that I hope it is with that neck, then I would then burn the Strat. and buy a
sense.
Gibson Theodore.
Jeez.
All right, now Jack. Dan knows to guess for Jack now,
Yep.
right?
Okay,
Right,
yeah.
I'm rubbish at this.
For Jack.
Oh, shut up.
Jack would definitely buy the Boss because it's probably a very versatile pedal, and he can make beautiful sounds with it. He would. Oh, that's difficult now. I mean, he already said that he doesn't own a semi-hollow, so he might probably be intrigued to try out the Wolfgang, the SA, what was it, 126 guitar. And I mean, he's got so many HSS guitars, and his arsenal of Ibanez and other guitars is probably super big that he doesn't need another Strat. So despite it probably being a pretty good instrument, he would burn the Fender. My assumption. I say, Jack.
I'm gonna say, actually, you can never get too many Strats.
Wow. Okay.
So no, I'd buy the Boss 100%.
Ah!
Just because I think that would be a cool thing to have in the rig. Borrow the Strat, but I really didn't like the look. Sorry, Eddie, but I didn't like the look of that. The what is it? The EVH. Don't know why. It didn't do it for me. The big body down below, and then the E-hole, if that's what it's called. Not for me.
All right.
Yeah. Close though. Dan.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I really would have thought you'd have bought the Strat, being an HSS. You waxed lyrical about the HSS. I thought I was in there with a chance.
It was tough. I'll give you that, and it was very tough. But yeah.
Were you also? Was it for you, Jack, tough between the Boss and the Fender? Was you decided on the EVH? Because that's where I had my issues this
100%.
week.
Yeah, the EVH was a ban for me. So sorry.
I mean, why do I care so much about something that means so little? It's ridiculous. How dare I say that? Sorry, people that care about this part of the show. I do care about it, but it is, in the grand scheme of things, not that important. All right. There are some people, Jack, already asking it. Can they ask Jack questions? So there are people dying to ask you questions. I don't know what they are, but we're going to find out in a little bit. The gear stuff is over for a little bit. We're going to talk to Jack about headless guitars, because we started this conversation last time, and Jack, you have at least one headless guitar, and I'm not sure if they're a gimmick or a travel guitar or they're actually a decent instrument. So we're going to talk about this. We're going to discuss it. We're going to put it on the table, and at the end of this, we're going to walk away friends, smiling, with an answer. That's what I'm proposing anyway.
Yeah.
That's what I'm proposing. So it's time for our guest. Right, as I said, if you have any questions for Jack, please put them on the screen now. I will save them to my little favorites folder, and we will get them on there. Firstly, we'll re-welcome you to the show, Mr. Jack Gardiner. Welcome back to the show.
It's been a while. Hey dudes.
Yeah. So what's changed since we spoke to you last? What have you been up to? Something good?
I can't remember if last time we'd started the process of the new album. I don't know if I mentioned that. Well, I don't even know if it lasted that long last time. So.
I don't recall you saying anything about it, so Let's say no, you didn't.
Right,
a new album,
okay.
You say?
Yeah, so we are in the final stages at the minute. We're recording final leads. This is with Owain. We started writing, I think, was it 2 months ago, maybe? And yeah, it's just like the process, because there's two of us working on it pretty much all the time. It's really quick. We hardly ever have any arguments. It's a case of like, I write maybe 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes, then he'll write another minute. It's just like a super easy process. But now we're having some slight issues with noise in this apartment in Switzerland, so we are trying to battle that, figure out ways to get rid of it essentially. And I have some new pickups in my guitars, which I can't say too much about, but yeah, we're prototyping some really cool pickups in the AZs. That's why I've got a Tom Quayle signature, if anyone's seen that about. We're using that to test some single coils and humbuckers. So yeah, it's going really cool.
You just released a video with that guitar, Spain, right?
Ah, yeah. With the Tom Quayle backing track.
There's a backstory behind that because I think in 2018, Tom and Martin were touring, and Tom was playing Spain every night as the very first song. So like basically, when we got off the venue, everyone was like, having that in the back of their minds. And it was like a disease. So at the end of the tour, he said, like, I promise I'm never going to play that.
Was that comment when he said, now that makes sense? Because it was like, when he was like, I'm spreading, I was thinking,
He created his own pandemic.
Yes, that was it.
Yeah. Everyone is playing Spain now.
It's such a wicked version that he plays, though, isn't it? That backing track is, ridiculous. For those of you who haven't checked that out, that's the Elba Triangle, I think is the name of the project.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really cool.
Great track. And I was wondering when I saw you playing that, are you also playing in fourths like Tom does?
No, I would not survive in fourths at all. Standard tuning all the way. Man.
Okay, because I was figuring
forgot about that.
Tom, if Tom was your teacher, was it hard for you to transition from his fourths tuning, or was he giving you lessons in standard tuning at that time?
No, so he would always stay in fourths, but the way which Tom taught me, I think we only had maybe like 4 or 5 formal lessons, but a lot of it is based around visualizing intervals. So yes, that will change for him when it comes to the B string and the high E string, but the concept is the same. You just have to translate it to your tuning, which, I mean, I did try going into fourths, I think, one day, and it lasted about 20 minutes before I realized that you couldn't play an open E chord or like an open D chord. Like, so function gigs would be a no-no. Imagine if you play an open E and you've got a C and an F as the top 2 notes. It's just, clash. Not nice at all. Yeah.
All right, that's cool.
Do you mind, Jack, if I go straight for this question from the live chat, because Sirkin has been asking for a while. It's quite a long question, okay? So I'll read it out, and then maybe you'll have an answer for us. It's regarding technique and stuff. So Sirkin Korkmaz says, Jack Gardiner's touch is incredible. I've been working on Solo 1 in Modern Improv / Jam Track Essential for 6 months, 5 hours a day, and I still can't play Clarity as much as him.
Oh, man.
I guess he played it in just 5 minutes and recorded. After 6 months, I realized that in some parts I discovered that some finger movements can be faster when hand stance is completely perpendicular to the ground. And now I have started all 6 months again. Did he go through these processes himself, or do some of the excellent points of this playing come from him as an innate talent? Jack.
Oh, that is super sweet. Thank you so much, man. Way too kind. But the first part of the question, was it something about dynamics and clarity, I think you mentioned?
It's on screen again. So Jack's touch is incredible. You just wanted me to say that again. I've been working on Solo 1.
Feed me.
I still can't play Clarity as much as him. So I think it's to do with clarity. And is Clarity a track, or does he actually mean clear?
I think by that he means like the dynamics and like the micro touches and things like that, which is something that I think I've really, really tried to work on. A lot of people, when like you're learning phrases or transcribing things or learning other people's music, you often can like only think about the notes and only think about the technique and, you know, that kind of side of it. Whereas for me, if I'm listening to a player, I'm always listening to what makes them sound like them. So like the vibrato, the subtleties, the micro bends, you know, like things where you're bending from a note which is technically wrong, it's technically flat, but it fits the whole minor third thing into major third. You know, there's that perfect sweet spot in between. And that's something that I find that like a lot of players tend to neglect. Like for me, if I hear like a player play a ridiculous line and then there's bad vibrato at the end of it, I'm put off. Like I won't really listen anymore. Like bad vibrato kills people, I think, you know, in that sense. So for me, one thing I always would suggest is like listen to guys that really have control over those dynamics. A perfect example is Andy Timmons. He is like the king of that. But also like the blues guys. A lot of people, especially in like the metal world, tend to neglect the blues players and treat it as like, you know, the boomer stuff. But that's where a lot of feel, in inverted commas, and touch and taste and tone comes from. And that's what I find in a player kind of makes them stand out from other players. When it's just this like flat dynamic level, I'm just not interested in it. You know, there's a time and a place for that, of course, in the metal stuff when you want something hyper produced and hyper, you know, like this in terms of dynamics, where it's a sheer tour de force of technique. But I do think that gives away, I mean, the subtleties give away what type of player the player is. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Maybe Serkan can tell us if the answer.
Yeah, so Serkan's definitely still here. I guess to try and clear this up for him, he says he's gone through the process twice, if I understand it correctly. Jack, well, what would be your suggestion if he feels he's not achieving what he wants to achieve, that clarity, that dynamics, those note little nuances?
What I'd say is like to loop just maybe one note or one bend or one example of vibrato and try to mimic it. But there's like loads of exercises you can do to practice your vibrato, which is usually the worst offender. You know, when vibrato is bad, we can hear it's bad. But one thing which I used to do was to imagine visualizing like here's the pitch. If we're only using our fingers, if we're not using a whammy bar, it's essentially an illusion where it's pushing up and coming back down to the target note. What a lot of people do is they push up and then they never return to that like original pitch. So you're only ever hearing this kind of sharp, nasty thing going on. So you can practice that in a number of ways. You can do it in time. So you can give yourself like a certain subdivision whether that's like triplets, whether that's on beat 2, whether, you know, any kind of subdivision, but see how it feels, but always make sure you return into that original pitch. Recording yourself is the biggest thing as well, man. Like we all think, I think as we play that we sound a certain way, and it's only when you listen back that you go, oh, actually that wasn't that cool. I think there has to be like a separation, you know, from, I think I'm sure there was one study I read where like you can't actually tell how good like a tone is or how good the playing is until you're not doing it in the moment. You know, there's like this idea that you have a predetermined idea in your head of what something sounds like until you hear it back. So recording yourself definitely is a giveaway. I think he mentioned something else though about like the hand being perpendicular. Was that about technique? Was that?
Yeah.
It says yes. I discovered that some finger movements can be faster when the hand position is completely perpendicular to the ground.
Right. Okay. I think I know what you mean. As in, like, it's like this part of the hand is facing vertically down.
Or does it mean like that's how I understand it? So,
like a very classical approach, right?
Like thumb behind the neck.
Rather than angled for comfort.
Yeah, like in terms of hand positioning, like, I mean, I started with classical guitar, so that I remember the book that they gave us in school had like a picture of the hand and a hammer, and it was basically like if your thumb comes up, the hammer comes down. You know, when you're like 9-year-old kid, you're thinking this is a bit brutal. Yeah, I probably shouldn't do that. You know, it must have been a book from 20 years before I was in school, but so that was kind of drilled in. I always think that classical position is 9 times out of 10 better for technique, keeping the thumb behind. But there's no strict rules with it. Like sometimes if I'm playing something that's mega stretchy, my thumb can angle behind here. The majority of the time, it tends to be somewhere in between, especially for the legato, like the first and the second finger. But again, it depends on the stretch. But then again, a lot of the bending stuff and the subtlety stuff, if I call it that, the thumb has to come over, and that's to give the support to the bend. So yes, for technique, practice with the thumb below and keep the hand nice and straight. But if you want to nail those subtleties, it can be much harder if that thumb is behind. I think a lot of people with vibrato, and I'm sorry I'm bringing it up again, but like good vibrato saves lives. Like this, like the finger movement. I see a lot of guys do that where they're using their finger to get the vibrato sound. That, for me personally, doesn't work. That's when it sounds rubbishy. Like you should be able to practice like the whole movement of pulling down. Like I don't know if you guys know Chris Buck. Have you guys watched him at all?
Yeah.
Like you see he physically moves the guitar like as he's playing. It's the movement. I've seen guys like John Mayer. I do this sometimes where the thumb actually comes completely off the neck and it's this movement. So like the whole arm rather than...
the BB King move. BB King was doing that. He was moving really, really far. Brian May's kind of the opposite. I mean, Brian May does a lot of the side to side, and that's where I get some of my stuff from when I do actually add some vibrato. I'd like to put something forward to Sirkin, and that's string gauge. I'm just thinking maybe just thinking something else, that the string gauge you're playing could be too thick. Because I know that when I'm playing on 9s, I have a lot more control over my bends than I do when I'm in 10s. And maybe that's something in case, your hand position is fine. I can't believe I'm trying to give advice over Jack Gardiner, but
man, don't be
I just popped in there that string gauge might be a factor to consider.
Yeah. Like, I don't know about you guys, I'm a 10s guy through and through. 9s, I feel like I can't control my bends at all. But they do give better tone, don't they? So it's apparently... 11s, I don't mind, but I find that if the setup is bad, this starts to ache. If it's a guitar that's set up perfectly, then 11s are fine, but 10s seem to be like the happy midpoint,
So I hope, Sirkin, I hope you're still here. Jack, thank you for that. Some personal service. I'd love to know, Sirkin, if we are anywhere near what you were asking and if there's anywhere near a solution. And at the very least, that was really interesting to hear you talk about how you achieve it, Jack. It was, I zoned out for a little bit. I was just fully focused. I forgot I was on a show. I was listening, getting my personal tuition. Sarang is asking, have you tried 9.5s, Jack?
No, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Sorry, now you do. Now there's something to try. So if you've got any questions for Jack, any burning questions, let us know. I really want to talk about this headless thing, because when I think headless guitars, for some reason, Jack, you're one of the first people that pops into my head. Now, Daniel, you'll do a much better job than I will, because Jack, being an Ibanez artist, you can tell us shortly about the headless Ibanez guitars that are on offer that Jack seems to enjoy.
Well, is that the play, like the position where I do the shameless marketing plug? No.
Absolutely, go for it, mate. Go for it.
Actually, here's the thing. I didn't even I've never met Jack before, so it's pretty cool that we get the chance to meet here. And I wasn't really into the whole process, involved into the process why he picked the guitar. So I'm actually like probably the worst person to ask why he was picking the headless guitar. What I can say about them is that they are super light, but they are also surprisingly powerful when it comes to the tone that they create. And me not being a headless guy and ending up actually purchasing one of the Q models from Ibanez was probably a sign that they are pretty easy to play, even for an average player that's not used to neither the slanted frets nor to the headless construction. But I just find it super comfy. They are powerful, and there was something from it visually I didn't gravitate towards them, but tone wise and from the feel, it was something that felt pretty comfy, and I liked, so I ended up buying one. What about you, Jack? What was how were you involved in the whole project and
Yeah, so I think Tyler had reached out way back when they were still prototyping them, and I think I chose the QX52, which is the dual humbucker, isn't it? But part of me kind of wishes that I'd gone for one of the HSS ones that I'm used to tonal wise. But no, I mean, for me, I played headless guitars before, so I knew kind of what the ballpark is with them. And what really surprised me, I think, was how, although other companies are building headlesses, they tend to either be really expensive or it's this like low price range kind of thing where you lose that quality. And I feel like with the Q series, like this is personal now, like that they nailed that. There's the ergonomics there, there's the playability. In terms of the neck itself, it's one of the easiest necks I've ever played. Like when you go from the Q back to the AZ, sometimes it's like, oh my god, this feels like a dad guitar, you know, like it's much bigger kind of thing. I call the Q like my little super shredder, because if I need something that's really technical, it's the one to go for. Like the slanted frets, at first I didn't understand. I thought that they were like true temperament, but the more I think Tyler explained to me that it was for, you know, when you play like chordal ideas with the right hand.
Correct.
Like that's something that I don't tend to do, but I found actually with voicings with the left hand that was more ergonomic up there. You know, when you have like a real tight spot, that felt great to me with the left hand, which was cool. What else about them? There was something I was going to say. The roasted bird's eye with Babinga. That's a really cool looking neck. I think it's one of them that I'd maybe like on an AZ. It does look smart with the gold hardware as well. Mine's jet black. I know the others, they've got like a blue burst, I think, haven't you, Dan? Like a HSS one.
Yeah. That's why it was with quilt maple cap. Yep.
Yeah, I really like the looks of that. The only like downside I'd say for mine with the pickups is that they're a little bit dark for my liking. I just like a little bit of a brighter sound. But currently mine's tuned actually in F standard for, it's another project that I've been working on that I can't really say much at the minute. And what I noticed was actually that I didn't need it set up. Even though I was going into F, it was just like, bump, there we go, we're happy, we're gonna settle. So yeah, I'd say like overall, in a couple of words, it's a super shredder. One thing I did forget is that there's no bashing the headstock on the desk. That is super important. Like the amount of times my AZ, I've gone like this and gone, oh my god, I've done it again. You know?
Yeah.
Who wins, the desk or the guitar?
I don't know, actually. There's a few chunks on both, I'm sure.
Let's call it draw.
Call it a draw, yeah. The first Headless I played belonged to Guillaume from Tolman. He had the classic Strandberg. And being a kind of, back then, it was so long ago in both time and, I guess, experiences, I looked at it and I thought, what the hell is that? And I just didn't get it. And I knew Guillaume was a very stratty kind of guy, and he had this Strandberg. And I thought, it just didn't fit. My eyes could not understand what was going on. And then he showed me the neck of the Strandberg, which is this sort of half hexagonal sort of shape. Very square, very angled, even though the edges are rounded off. And he said he loved it, and he let me have a go. And it was one of the best moments I've ever had. A complete flip as a looking at something to playing it and then having a player's opinion. I thought, wow, this is super comfortable. The way the body sat into my body. I loved the guitar, and I had to give it back, of course, but really, really did enjoy. And I think it was the one that looks like a telly, you know, so it was particularly cool looking once I got past that weirdness of it, which I think is what turns a lot of people off from Headless guitars. And I've been reading the live chat sneakily, and I think most of the comments that are coming in are about appearances rather than technique or feeling ability or the comfort that some of the Headless guitars offer. And I'm going to wager that some of the people commenting have never actually played one and have just looked at one and are similar to that person I was when I saw Guillaume playing that Strandberg and said, bleh. And I'm not trying to convert anybody. It's just I was that person. Yeah. And then of course I played the Q series as well from Ibanez, and I played I reviewed the Itchy signature, and man, was that thing hard to give back. That is a beautiful guitar. It's a matte finish. I'm doing your job for you now, Dan, by the way. Just it was a wonderful, beautiful guitar, exquisite. yeah, it felt like a Strat that was even more comfortable. So it looks ridiculous on me because I'm so big, and this tiny little body of the guitar looked like I was playing a little mini guitar, which they're mini anyway. But yeah, I think it's one of the most comfortable guitars I've ever played, the Itchy, and it sounds great. Kind of sounds a bit like a Strat, but not. And I think, Jack, this one's actually a little brighter, so you should definitely take a look at the Itchy signature. It's single coils.
Yeah.
But for me, I felt like, like with a classic Fender Strat and a Tele even, they're such old designs that they were not really thought of for the style of music that might be played by shredders. And I think this is a guitar that has come from ergonomics. I'm not talking about the Ibanez now, Dan. I'm talking about generally these style of guitars. For me, they confuse our eye, but when one plays one, I could understand shredding, even though I can't and don't shred. I could see me doing it on such an instrument as a tool. And that's why I dig headless guitars.
I did see a story from one guy who'd said that he hadn't been able to like play for 10, 15 years. And when he tried the headless, that all of a sudden there was no pain, which I found really interesting. If anyone's got hand issues, I would say the necks on the Q series, and of course like the Strandberg as well, like they do have this ergonomic thing. You don't feel like you're battling with the instrument to play, especially for the kind of faster stuff. Like that's why I call it a super shredder. It feels almost, it's not too easy in the sense that you feel like, oh my god, I can't play, but it just makes everything softer. Like you're not straining for anything. You're not really,
Yeah, as I said, I'm not a shredder, but I could see myself developing such techniques easier on that guitar and on that series of guitars. And yeah, it really, really intrigued me. And then I see people like yourself, Jack, playing it. I'm like, okay, that makes absolute sense to me, having played it. And just going to put April's comment on screen, because April says, I'm that person too, the one I was referring to. Never played a headless, just can't get past how it looks. Also not a shredder. Firstly, thank you for putting that there, April, because that's a nice thing to be honest about it. All I can say is I urge you to try one. Just don't take it to a blues jam, I would say, because you might get.
But here's the thing: you can even
get
get away at a blues jam, because people, they will not be expecting the tones you can get out of them, with the switching systems and everything. But for me, it's kind of striking if you played it and you figured out that how much tone you can get out of such a light instrument, and then you compare it, let's say, to a Les Paul at 5 kilograms. It kind of raises a couple question marks. How do I torture myself at some point with heavy guitars if there are so many or at least a couple super comfortable travel friendly instruments that you can gig, and they are completely fine.
That's what I was going to say. Travel wise, Dan, like taking one of them on a plane, there's never a question. They just assume it's like a tennis racket or something, it's just one of them, like. Yeah. Especially if you flip the bag upside down, that's a key tip. If you've got a headless out there, flip it upside down, no questions asked.
Yeah. Even if I play the guitar, for instance, if I cannot sleep, I just grab the cue and I fiddle around a little bit, and then I just put it on my bedside table. It's so small that it will even stay on the bedside table.
Yeah,
I find it remarkable. But I just want to make a point that it's a pretty interesting finding from your side, because it's so spot on. These guitars are not designed to be just for the super shredders, because it's not like the regular super thin wizard neck where you can only go fiddly, and you have to have that kind of perfect, almost classically trained position, with the hammer from top if the thumb comes up. But with that said, that parallel wizard neck is still comfortable to a degree that it has a little bit of meat, but it's still flat and easy to play. So it's like a super kind of convenient medium, between both worlds. It doesn't have too much flesh. It's not a V or something, but it's still also not super thin. So it kind of, it's inviting for people that come from, baseball bats, but also that come from the shredders realm. And that's what I think they pretty much nailed with that series.
100%. I think it's like the bending, isn't it, that people will be worried about? Like, that is usually the thing I notice with the super thin necks. You tend to overbend and you can't really place where a note should be. But yeah, with the Q, it takes like a couple of minutes and it feels natural. Also, like the slanted frets tend to put people off. I've noticed that.
Yeah.
Like, they think, why visually that messed me up? But it takes a couple of minutes. Maybe it was the same for you, Andy, when you first tried that one of Guillaume's. Like, you don't even notice it after a minute. Like, it's
Absolutely.
it's in there.
My eyes got in the way of what actually was being put in front of me. My perception of what it would be like, as soon as you put, it didn't even take minutes, to be honest, Jack, and it just took, I don't know, that, you know, when you either gel with a guitar or you don't, as soon as you pick it up, as you said, I just didn't notice there was anything different. Yeah. And once I'd convinced myself that if I just played the guitar like I normally would, it would find the right places where the frets should be, it just felt even more comfortable. So I'm a massive proponent of slanted frets and for ergonomics. And it's interesting, Benjamin Luo just put a comment up saying, the older I get, the more important ergonomics become, especially lightweight construction. Okay. I absolutely agree. And as Dan, you kind of hinted on, I don't think you take a hit in tone for having less wood and less shape and less guitar. I used to think this. I used to play Les Pauls because I thought I wanted a thick, heavy tone, and I found out it was more actually about the pickups that I was searching for rather than a big old piece of tree, you know? Yep. Keith's asking if we can throw up a picture of Dan's or Jack's guitar, so I'm sure Dan has one somewhere, and he can WhatsApp it to me, and I'll throw it up on screen. Yeah, thanks, Keith. Yeah, I'll do that. April is asking also, just curious, why are the frets slanted? Is it intonation? Dan, do you want to take that one?
I think Jack already explained it. It's supposed to be angled because a lot of players, they play modern styles. They often use right-hand techniques like tapping and things like that, or tapped harmonics. So in order to not have to move the hand too much, in line with the neck, keep it like in a more natural position, those kind of slanted frets kind of facilitate reaching those notes. And also, I gotta say, for adult chords, if you play chords with a wide span, I think it's actually pretty comfy. Yeah.
What did you call them?
Adult chords.
Adult chords. Yeah.
I'm stealing that.
I've never heard that before.
No, that's not from me. That's Steve Lukather who said, "Kids, learn your chords. Adult chords." Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I hope April, that answers your question. Poo Ninja's back, and yes, you did miss by Bowler or Burn. That's in the past, and it doesn't matter who won or lost, or it's over now. Yeah. I don't know if we ever got the answer to the question from the guy that asked Serkin. Oh, Serkin is back. Let's put it on screen. Lots of questions for Jack. I love how we can have questions for our guests from the chat. Ibanez AZ now perfectly fills in the lack of mid frequencies in Jack's Strandberg videos. Mid actually annoying in AZ, but it is perfectly balanced with Jack, like it was made for him. I'm a big fan there, Jack.
Thank you very much, man. Is that the same guy as before?
Yes.
Oh, I'll pay him later. It's fine.
Yeah. It's not a second account that you have, is it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. When I'm going down here.
Jack is amazing. Yeah. Well. Yeah. What else did I want to say? Oh, yeah. I once had an experience with a headless guitar at Music Messe in Germany in 2018, and I was walking around with my camera way back in the 4,000 subs era of this channel, when I was really green and bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and this guy grabs me and says, "You've got to come over and try this guitar. They're made in Korea. They are headless. They're all these ergonomic shapes." And he was really, really saying massive things about it, trying to get me to come over, and I did. And in fact, this is before I tried Guillaume's Strandberg, so I was that person then, the guy. And I interviewed this guy who played it, and it was completely out of intonation. There was nothing in tune. And then I had a go, and it was one of the worst guitars I've ever played in my life.
Oh god.
And it was €2,500.
Wow.
Oh.
So there were no financial excuses, because you mentioned earlier, right at the top of the topic was, you can get some cheaper versions where they don't quite deliver. This one did not deliver, but was more expensive than it should have been. So, I mean, that can go with any guitar. I'm not being fair on I won't mention the brand of the company, mainly because I can't remember who they were. But yeah, is it harder to make a headless guitar because of the machining and all that sort of thing? Is it therefore more expensive?
It's hard to say. I mean, you gotta acknowledge that the curves on the Q range are very, very sophisticated. So it's more, comparable to, let's say, a JS series with the aerofoil shaping that is not even. So all, the curves and the intricacies, that are below the tuning cylinders. I think it's probably a little bit more expensive to make, or a little bit more, you need more drilling tools, more machinery to kind of get those shapes out of it. But I don't know, with modern CNCs, I don't see why that should be a biggie. Once you have everything programmed, it's just a matter of time. So I mean, it's not a tele, obviously, but also I think what is more important, like I just said, what is even more important is that the hardware is good. I think because with those with the headless guitars, you kind of lock in the strings. You have a lock at the top, and then you lock them in at the bottom, and then you screw it until it's nice and tight. And to have those kind of the hardware be very smooth and be easy to turn, and also be long lasting, that's probably one of the main obstacles when developing a guitar like that. So yeah. On the Qs, I'm pretty happy to report that it's super smooth. It's called the monotune bridges. So it's got 6 or 7 individual bridges. So each string is separated from each other. And, tuning the guitar, it's a breeze. It's super smooth. It's, you can reach it super easily. And for me, that's one of the most important parts. That's also why, I'm usually not a guy to use gold hardware, because over time that usually deteriorates and looks ugly, and even can, be detrimental to the actual use of the instrument or the trem unit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the Qs, very good. Yeah.
I have to agree. I was worried because they seem very close together. The tuning rods, I guess you'd call them, the actual thing that you turn. But yeah, I was very surprised to find out that it's second nature. Like Jack, when you said with the slanted frets, as soon as you've done it a couple of times, I could easily do it on stage. There was no worries about freaking out playing it on stage and not being able to tune my own instrument.
I will say one.
Yeah,
sorry, man. Maybe I'm going to be the negative one now, but I would say if you are gigging, usually it's a good idea to bring a spare. I mean, you should bring a spare anyway. But I remember not with the Q series, but with the Strandberg, we did a pretty important gig, and first tune, I snapped a string, brand new strings, and had to run backstage, and to restring them can take a minute or two. So when you play into an intro track, you're kind of nervous anyway, and then that happens. It was run back, So that's the only thing about Headless, that it can take a bit of time, to make sure you've got a spare guitar. That's all I'd say. I'd never snapped a string ever again on one, but yeah, it was that moment, and that kind of taught me my lesson, shall we say?
That must suck. Yeah, I mean, it's not Edge, Tremolo, or Floyd Rose sort of territory, but it certainly isn't something like a telly, again, to bring it back to the simplicity. You can't just whack a new string on whilst bending other ones.
Nope.
Someone asked for some pictures. Dan sent them to me, so I'm going to put them on screen. This is Dan's blue one. So that's what we're talking about right at the end. Sorry, Jack, you're covered up at the moment. We got what were they called? Monotune bridges?
Yep, correct. Monotune bridges.
And those sort of roddy, sticky things at the end, that you turn those, that's the tuning pegs. And that's what I was talking about regarding it actually being pretty easy. Second picture is the same guitar, Dan, with a brother next to it?
Correct. That's the 7-string. I think that's the one that Jack also owns, right?
No. I've got the black 6-string HH.
I was under the impression you also had the 7-string.
I've got the 7-string AZ. That's
there you go.
Yeah.
Okay. But maybe we can turn the attention to one more guitar, because I am always in awe when I see it, and I posted about it. Could you show us briefly the amazing AZS?
This one is that.
Oh my god!
Oh man, this is yeah, just filthy. Are you into that, Andy?
I've forgotten which one it was, but yeah, I am. I'm not normally into that sort of quilty top. I'm more into flat colors, but that one is particularly pretty.
Yeah. Oh man, I couldn't believe it. And then when the guy, I'm gonna feel really bad for not remembering the name, but I'm in Switzerland. He had one here. I was like,
okay.
Can I have that, please?
Okay.
Yeah.
And that was it.
That was that one. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
It's seriously pretty.
She is a beauty.
That's a good-looking guitar.
Yeah.
Well, we might have time for one more question from the chat. There's a few more popping up. Generally, here's a question that I would like to ask that's also in the chat from I Love It All. And that is, will there ever be a trem version of the Quest? Is it technically possible?
Goes to me?
Wow.
It has been considered. I don't know. I don't think that there are like technical restrictions that would prevent the Q series in general to have a trem, develop, but it's tricky. And I think we discussed it in earlier episodes. Developing hardware from scratch is usually one of the most expensive parts of designing an instrument, because you got to A/B and you got to talk to the manufacturers of hardware, because this stuff is proprietary. It doesn't exist, so they come up with shapes, with molds, and you got to do a lot of testing, and that's super expensive. Also, because of material. With the Jack mentioned the AZ line, they were testing materials for saddles, so you have to produce the stuff, get it to the artist, get some feedback, reevaluate, go back to the factory, do some fine tuning. It's a lot of labor, it's a lot of costs, and it's a lot of time. So it's not as easy as it sounds sometimes. Even if people come up with, can't you do a lefty? Sure, you can, but with the monotune bridges, it's probably easier. But with a trem unit, for instance, you can't just simply flip it. You have to create new molds and all that, and that's fairly expensive and time consuming. So I wouldn't rule it out, because there's a lot of demand from players, probably like Jack, but also from but also from dealers that see potential, and also from the market, because there are not too many headless guitars in that price range. But it takes time, and especially given the current circumstances with all the factories being closed due to COVID, I don't see it happen too soon. So yeah, let's see what the future will bring.
I think that with the Itchy signature that I reviewed, the trem system would have been the icing on the cake. It would have been the one thing that would, if I were a traveling musician, as we said, Jack, that would be the guitar that I would take then, because it's so easy to travel with, so easy to carry and play tennis with, as you said. But the trem system, I feel like I might have been missing something a little bit. That would have been, as I said, the little cherry on top.
Yep.
And thanks for answering that, Dan. I didn't want to put you on the spot or anything like that, but I thought if I asked you privately, you might just say maybe, but on a live show, you might actually give me an answer. So I love it all. Thank you for asking the question, because I got to divert the blame onto you.
Nice. I would be interested to know what's next for Jack. I mean, you already teased a little bit about the new album. Is it pretty much in line with Escapade, or is it much different compared to the debut EP?
No, so we released in August like a full-on collab album. So the guy Owain, he produced Escapades, but it was like right at the beginning of the pandemic that we kind of met each other over Facebook. That was a really weird story, but we ended up becoming like literally best friends. Like, he's the godfather of my child now. We spoke every day during the pandemic for like 8 to 12 hours, and after we released like Escapades, we were like, why don't we do a full-on collab album? So we released, I don't know if you've seen the artwork for it, but Shredemption, we called it.
Yeah.
Back in August, which was like, I think in fusion music, there's a lot of seriousness, and like in prog and stuff like that. So we were kind of like, hang on, why don't we just have a bit of fun with this? Like, let's not take ourselves too seriously. We got reviews from like Per Nielsen and stuff like that, just to like slate the album, and made a poster out of it. So we're kind of continuing on with that theme. On the first one, we were lucky to have Henrik Linder from Dirty Loops on that, who is like, for me and Owain, he was an absolute, you know, when I say childhood, teenage hero, because we were teenagers when he came out. But yeah, there it is. I'm gutted that one doesn't have the quotes. I don't know if you've seen that, Andy, the poster.
I haven't, or maybe I have. Oh no, yeah, it's yes, I have. If I brought it up on screen, it would.
Yeah,
I can't find it.
But we're basically like, oh, you got it.
I will have it if you want to finish your thoughts. I'm trying to.
So I think we're planning like a trio of like releases. This is going to be the second one. Yeah, I'm just saying this one is not going to feature. I don't think. Maybe it'll have someone on there, but it's mainly just those two, and then we're going to give ourselves some time for the third one, I think. But there are a ton of notes on this one. I thought, oh man, we haven't got many shreddy tunes, and then I listened to the full thing today, and I was like, oh, actually, maybe we should have dialed a few notes back. You know, it's one of them. I guess we'll see.
Great.
I have the image. I'll just read some of the reviews. I like the title. It says, "This is the soundtrack to a truck driver's divorce." That's brilliant. 3 stars, Social Worker Fusion. No feel. 1 star. Boomer Magazine. Wannabe Fusion. Love that. Lol, this is the kind of music my dad listens to. And a career-defining moment for Gardiner. Imagine Guthrie Govan if you ordered him from Wish.com. I love how much fun you've had with that. That's amazing.
Oh,
I really applaud that. That's fantastic.
I think it's important, isn't it, to not really take yourself too seriously with it all, you know, like.
Yeah. And honestly, I sometimes get turned off by fusion style guitar because of how serious it is. And when I heard the Shredemption stuff and saw the poster, honestly, the poster was what did it for me to, you know, take the final steps to actually listening to it. So your marketing worked. Yeah, it made it more accessible to me, even if the music itself had been exactly the same. Yeah, it just made it more human. So, yeah,
thanks, man.
You did it.
We like to throw in a few little Easter eggs. I don't know if you heard, like, one of the tracks when we were coming up with song titles. You know, a lot of the stuff in fusion can be very serious. It will involve like mathematical terms or things like that. And we were like, what about Shredder's Dead, but live at the Budokan? And so, like, there's a really bad Clapson like sample in there at the end. I don't know if you've heard that, where there's like 5 people clapping Imagine the Budokan. With only 5 people in there. So stuff like that, like that. We're hoping to continue on this new album. At least we've got a meeting with the artwork guy tomorrow, and I think it's going to be just as ridiculous as the first one if we're lucky.
Wow. I'll speak for Dan and myself and the entire Guitar Stories community when I say we wish you the best of luck, but not too much luck that you still have to work for it, you know.
Don't tell me that. It's been 2 weeks already, you know.
Yeah, man, thank you so much for coming back, and I'm so happy to have you on for an absolute full show, almost.
We made it.
Yeah, we made it. We did it. Yeah, thank you for answering all my Headless questions, and I think, I mean, there was something I sillily posed. Is it just a gimmick for a Headless, or is it an actual true instrument? And I can't decide for anybody, but hopefully listening to this, then at least I want to convert some people from looking at it and going, ugh, to actually just picking it up and giving it a go. And I think that's the best we can do. And then just watch Jack play it, and then you'll be convinced. So
Too kind.
yeah. Dan, would you ask our good friends on the audio version to give us 5 stars in the review, please?
Absolutely. If you enjoyed this show, if you enjoyed Jack Gardiner, do ourselves a favor. Grab your cell phone, grab the smartphone of your wife, grab the smartphone of your dog or your neighbor, and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes or on Spotify. And if you like, subscribe to Andy's channel and give this show a thumbs up. And also, if you want to see Jack Gardiner in action and you are anywhere close to the Swiss area, make sure to check out the Montreal International Guitar Show that's taking place end of April, because Jack is going to give a live performance there alongside other incredible artists like Martin Miller or John Gum.
Thanks for reminding me about that, Dan. I'd totally forgotten.
Better put that in the diary.
Oh, yeah. That's next month.
Yeah. Well, thank you to the people in the live chat. Thank you to the audio people as well. And again, Jack, thank you so much for coming back. And when you've done the album, when you've done the guitar show in Switzerland, you can come back again in another few months and we'll find some other strangely specific things to talk about and hopefully keep it lighthearted.
Oh, no.
Okay,
Thank you very much, guys, for having me.
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure. And I hope I get to see you in person soon at some point.
Come to Montreal. What day is it, Dan? Next month?
It's I think your
next
your
week.
show. It's I think the 30th, Saturday.
Right, yeah. It's the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, isn't it? Yeah.
No, wait. It's May 1st. Saturday? Sunday, May 1st. Yeah.
That's my daughter's one. Yeah, she'll be 1 that day, her birthday. So I should remember that.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
yeah.
no.
Yep, that's Sunday.
Come to a guitar show.
Yeah,
Well, at least you're
birthday
playing-
surprise.
Yeah, you're playing 12:30, so that leaves a lot of time for some cake, like afternoon.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, that is our
good
show. That's
move.
episode 67. We'll be back next week for episode, well, I'm going to call it episode 68 because that's probably what it is. If we make it, of course. Next week, we have Brian Wampler on the show from Wampler Pedals.
Ooh, nice.
If you have any questions, get them ready. Jack, if you have any, you can just, ask them now and we'll get them into the show next week. I can't wait to talk to Brian. He's such a nerd in the best possible way. He knows so much. So I'm really looking forward to a pedal-centric episode. Yeah, we'll see you soon. As Dan said, like, subscribe, comment, share, all that sort of stuff. And go and see Jack's music because then you can, have a good laugh at the Redemption stuff at the very least.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye.
Cheers.
Guitar Stories Podcast, your #1 show for everything guitar.